Section 30 of The House of the White Shadows. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The House of the White Shadows by B.L. Farjeon. Section 30. Book 7, Chapter 1. Book 7. Retribution. Chapter 1. John Vanbrugh and the Advocate. "A stormy night to seek you out," said John Vanbrugh, "and to renew an old friendship." "Stop there," interrupted the Advocate. "I admit no idea of a renewal of friendship between us." "You reject my friendship?" asked Vanbrugh, wiping the blood and dirt from his face. "Distinctly." "So be it. Our interview shall be conducted without a thought of friendship, though some reference to the old days cannot be avoided. I make no apology for presenting myself in this condition. Man can no more rule the storm than he can the circumstances of his life. I have run some distance through the rain, and I have been attacked and almost killed. You perceive that I am exhausted, yet you do not offer me wine. You have it, I know, in that snug cupboard there. May I help myself? Thank you. Ah, there's a smack of youth in this liquor. It is life to one who has passed through such dangers as have encompassed me. You received my letter asking for an interview? I gave it myself into your hands on the last evening of the trial." "I received it." "Yet you were unwilling to accord me an interview?" "I had no desire to meet you again." "It was ungrateful of you, for it is upon your own business yours and no other man's that I wished to speak with you. It was cold work out on the hill yonder, watching the lights in your study window, watching for the simple waving of a handkerchief, which would mean infinitely more to you than to me, as you will presently confess. Dreary, cold work, not likely to put a man like myself in an amiable mood. I am not on good terms with the world, as you may plainly perceive. I have had rough times since the days you deemed it no disgrace to shake hands with me. I have sunk very low by easy descents. You have risen to a giddy height. I wonder whether you have ever feared the fall. Men as great as you have met with such a misfortune. Things do not last for ever, Edward. Pardon me, it was a slip of the tongue." "Do you come to beg?" "No, for a reason. If I came on such an errand I might spare myself the trouble." "Likely enough," said the Advocate, who was too well acquainted with human nature not to be convinced, from Vanbrugh's manner, that his was no idle visit. "You were never renowned for your charities. And, on the other hand, I am poor, but I am not a beggar. I am frank enough to tell you I would prefer to steal. It is more independent, and not half so disgraceful. It may happen that the world will take an interest in a thief, but never in a beggar." "Is it to favour me with your philosophies that you pay me this visit?" "I should be the veriest dolt. No, I will air my opinions when I am rich." "You intend, poor as you confess yourself, to become rich?" "With your help, old friend." "Not with my help. You will receive none from me." "You are mistaken. Forgive me for the contradiction, but I speak on sure ground. Ah, how I have heard you spoken of! With what admiration and esteem! Almost with awe by some. Your talents, of themselves, could not have won this universal eulogy. It is your spotless character that has set the seal upon your fame. There is not a stain upon it, you have no weaknesses, no blemishes, you are absolutely pure. Other men have something to conceal, some family difficulty, some domestic disgrace, some slip in the path of virtue, which, were it known, would turn the current against them. But against you there is not a breath. Scandal has never soiled you. In this lies the strength of your position. In this lies its danger. Let shame, with cause, point its finger at you. Old friend, the result is unpleasant to contemplate. For when a man such as you falls, he does not fall gradually. He topples over suddenly, and today he is as low in the gutter as yesterday he was high in the clouds. You have said enough. I do not care to listen to you further. The tone you assume is offensive to me, such as I would brook from no man. You can go the way you came." And with a scornful gesture the Advocate pointed to the window. "When I inform you which way I came," said Vanbrugh with easy insolence, "you will not be so ready to tell me to leave you before you learn the errand which brought me." "Which way then did you come?" asked the Advocate in a tone of contempt. "The way Gautran came. Somewhat earlier than this, it is true, but not earlier than midnight." The Advocate grasped the back of a chair. It was a slight action, but sufficient to show that he was taken off his guard. "You know that?" he said. "Aye, I know that, and also that you feasted him and gave him money." "Are you accomplices, you two knaves?" "If so, I have at present the best of the bargain. But your surmise is not made with shrewdness. I never set eyes on Gautran until after he was pronounced innocent of the murder of Madeline. Of that night I, shall we say providentially, made his acquaintance." "You have met him since then?" "Yes. This very night. Our interview was one never to be forgotten. Come, I have been frank with you. I have used no disguises. I say to you honestly, the world has gone hard with me. I have known want and privation, and I am in a state of destitution. That is a condition of affairs sufficient not only to depress a man's spirits, but to make him disgusted with the world and mankind. I have, however, still some capacity for enjoyment left in me, and I would give the world another trial, not as a penniless rogue, but as a gentleman." "Hard to accomplish," observed the Advocate, with a cynical smile. "Not with a full purse. No music like the jingling of gold, and the world will dance to the tune. Well, I present myself to you, and ask you, who are rich and can spare what will be the making of me, to hand me from your full store as much as will convert a poor devil into a respectable member of society." "I appreciate your confidence. I leave you to supply the answer." "You will give me nothing?" "Nothing." "Mind, I do not ask it of your charity. I ask it of your prudence. It will be worth your while." "That has to be proved." "Good. We have made a commencement. Your reputation is worth much, in sober truth as much as it has brought you. But I am not greedy. It lies at my mercy, and I shall be content with a share." "That is generous of you," said the Advocate, who by this time had regained his composure. "But I warn you, my patience is beginning to be exhausted." "Only beginning? That is well. I advise you to keep a tight rein over it, and to ask yourself whether it is likely, considering the difference of our positions, that I should be here talking in this bold tone unless I held a power over you? I put it to you as a lawyer of eminence." "There is reason in what you say." "Let me see. What have I to sell? The security of your reputation? The power to prevent your name being uttered with horror? Your fame? Your honour? Yes, I have quite that to dispose of, and as a man of business, which I never was until now, I recognize the importance of being precise. First, I have to sell my knowledge that, after midnight, you received Gautran in your study, that you treated him as a friend, and filled his pockets with gold. How much is that worth?" "Nothing. My word against his, against yours, against 100 such as you and he." "You would deny it?" "Assuredly, to protect myself." As he made this answer, it seemed to the Advocate as if the principle of honour by which his actions had been guided, until within the last few days, were slipping from him, and as if the vilest wretch that breathed had a right to call him his equal. "We will pass that by," said Vanbrugh, helping himself to wine. "Really, your wine is exquisite. In some respects you are a man to be envied. It is worth much to a man not only to possess the best of everything the world can give, but to know that he has the means and the power to purchase it. With that consciousness within him, he walks with his head in the air. You used to be fond of discussing these niceties. I had no taste for them. I left the deeper subtleties of life to those of thinner blood than mine. Pleasure was more in my way, and will be again." "You are wandering from the point," said the Advocate. "There is a meaning in everything I say. I will clip my wings. Your word against 100 men such as I and Gautran? I am afraid you are right. We are vagabonds. You are a gentleman. So, then, my knowledge of the fact that you treated Gautran as a friend after you had procured his acquittal is worth nothing. Admitted. But put that knowledge and the fact in connection with another and a sterner knowledge and fact that you knew Gautran to be guilty of the murder. How then? Does it begin to assume a value? Your silence gives me hopes that my visit will not be fruitless. Between men who once were equals and friends, and who, after a lapse of years, come together as we have come together now, candour is a useful attribute. Let us exercise it. I am not here on your account, nor do I hold you in such regard that I would trouble myself to move a finger to save your reputation. The master I am working for is self. The end I am working for is an easy life, a life of pleasure. This accomplished by your aid, I have nothing more to do with you or your affairs. The business is an unpleasant one, and I shall be glad to forget it. Refuse what I ask, and you will sink lower than I have ever sunk. There are actions which the world will forgive in the ignorant, but not in men of ripe intellect." He paused and gazed negligently at the Advocate, who, during the latter part of Vanbrugh's speech, was considering the dangers of his position. The secret of Gautran's guilt belonged not alone to himself and Gautran. This man Vanbrugh had been admitted into it, and he was an enemy more to be dreaded than Gautran. He saw his peril, and that he unconsciously acknowledged it to be imminent was proved by the thought which intruded itself, against his will, as it seemed, whether it would be wise to buy Vanbrugh off, to purchase his silence. "It is easy," he said, "to invent tales. You and a dozen men, in conjunction with the monster Gautran—" "As you say," interrupted Vanbrugh, gently nodding his head, "the monster Gautran. But why should you call him so unless you knew him to be guilty? Were you assured of his innocence, you would speak of him pityingly, as one undeservedly oppressed and persecuted. The monster Gautran! Thank you. It is an admission." "May invent," continued the Advocate, not heeding the interruption, but impressed by its logic, "may invent any horrible tale you please of any man you please. The difficulty will be to get the world to believe it." "Exactly. But in this case there is no difficulty, although the murderer be dead." "Gautran dead!" exclaimed the Advocate, surprised out of himself. Gautran was dead. Encompassed as he was by danger and treachery, the news was a relief to him. "Yes, dead," replied Vanbrugh, purposely assuming a careless tone. "Did I not tell you before? Singular that it should have escaped me. But I have so much to say, and in my brightest hours I was always losing the sequence of things." "And you," said the Advocate, "meeting this man by chance— Pardon me, I asked you whether I should consider our meeting providential." "It matters not. You meeting this man, come to me after his death, for the purpose of extracting money from me. You will fail." "I shall succeed." "You killed Gautran, and want money to escape." "No, he was killed by a higher agency, and I want no money to escape. You will hear to morrow how he met his death, for all the towns and villages will be ringing with it. I continue. Say that Gautran, at the point of death, made a dying confession, on oath, not only of his guilt, but of your knowledge of it when you defended him. Say that his confession existed in writing, duly signed. Would that paper, in conjunction with what I have already offered for sale, be worth your purchase? Take time to consider. You are dealing with a man in desperate circumstances, one who, if you drive him to it, will pull you down, high as you are. You will help me, old friend." "It may be. Have you possession of the paper you speak of?" "I have. Would you like to hear it?" "Yes." Vanbrugh moved, so that a table was between him and the Advocate, and taking Gautran's confession from his pocket, read in a clear voice: "I, Gautran the woodman, lately tried for the murder of Madeline the flower girl, being now at the point of death, and conscious that I have only a few minutes to live, and being also in the full possession of my reason, hereby make oath and swear that being thrown into prison awaiting my trial, I believed there was no escape from the doom I justly merited, for the reason that I was guilty of the murder. That some days before my trial was to take place, the Advocate who defended me voluntarily undertook to prove to my judges that I was innocent of the crime I committed. That, with this full knowledge, he conducted my case with such ability that I was set free and pronounced innocent. That on the night of my acquittal, after midnight had struck, and when every person but himself in the House of White Shadows was asleep, I secretly visited him in his study and remained with him for some time. That he gave me food and money and bade me go my way. That I am ignorant of the motives which induced him, to whom I was a perfect stranger, to deliberately defeat the ends of justice. That the proof that he knew me to be guilty lies in the fact that I made a full confession to him, to which I solemnly swear, being about to appear before a just God to answer for my crime, I pray for forgiveness and mercy. Signed, Gautran." Without comment, John Vanbrugh folded the paper and replaced it carefully in his pocket. "The confession may be forged," said the Advocate. "Gautran's signature," said Vanbrugh, "will refute such a charge. He could write only his name, and documents can certainly be found bearing his signature, which can be compared with this." "With that document in your possession," said the Advocate, speaking very slowly, Are you not afraid to be here with me, alone, knowing, if it state the truth, how much I have at stake?" "Excellent!" exclaimed Vanbrugh. "What likenesses there are in human nature, and how thin the line that divides the base from the noble! Afraid? No. For if you lay a hand upon me, for whom you are no more than a match, I will rouse the house and denounce you. Restrain yourself, and hear me out. I have that to say which will prove to you the necessity, if you have the slightest regard for your honour, of dealing handsomely with me. It relates to the girl whose murderer you set free, to Madeline, the flower girl, and to yourself." End of Section 30.